So I was pretty hyped for Monster Hunter Wilds, to the point that I actually almost cried when listening to the Monster Hunter Wilds main theme. I'm 37 years old. Music does make me cry. I also just love music, and I'm very excited to check out with you. Checking out as if I haven't played almost 60 hours of this game, but at the time of it's fine. I'm obsessed. I actually didn't want to film this video. Anyway, I love this theme. It's the theme that's in my camp. I listen to it constantly. I love this piece of music. It's glorious. Here's the Monster Hunter Wilds Proof of a Hero. I'm really excited to break this down and talk about it. So it's an incredible thing. I mean, not to stop right there, but when we start right away, it's actually the most quiet and the most relaxed and the most really emotionally explorative Proof of a Hero we've ever had. Now, Proof of a Hero is like the John Williams piece of this series. It's such a galvanizing, exciting, culmination of a journey, or the beginning of one, or a moment of reflection. But there's always a sense of pride that comes from being a hunter when we hear this particular track. Now, obviously, due to the story beats, without spoiling it, for those of you that are watching this, kind of curious what this is sounding like, maybe you've been hesitant to pick up Wilds, maybe, you haven't gotten this far. It plays at a moment that's really, really, really powerful. It plays at a moment at a culmination of events. And so what we end up getting here is the powerful strings section, which, when I say powerful, I don't mean powerful in its heaviness. I mean powerful in the way that it expresses that emotion as it kind of moves us through the connection to the legato there. Obviously, we've heard this theme. If we've played Monster Hunter before, we've heard this theme hundreds of times by now. But it's actually a really incredible thing to have composers be able to take a theme that is so well known and still modernize it and still rearrange it to evoke whatever particular mood the composers are trying to invoke. And in this particular case, it's almost sad, right? And you hear it, the way that the strings start. Check this out. So what do we get there? First of all, we get this little twinkling. Then we get this little, it sounds like the cymbals crashing. Right? So we get a very lyrical approach to the Proof of a Hero melody, number one. Number two, we also get the lower strings supporting that upper melody. So if the upper melody is being played by the violins, we're getting this really, really supportive emphasis, kind of descending and ascending in the lower strings, right? Continue on. And you're getting a counter harmony, da 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 ya da 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 da. Even though in the upper register we're getting the normal melody, we're actually getting a lower version of that Proof of a Hero motif, just in the strings, in the lower strings. You get the flutes, then over here you're getting the flutes and stuff sort of accenting. I'm stopping a lot. I'm very passionate about this piece. I've listened also to this piece literally at least for 5 hours. So I feel like I know it pretty intimately, but I also just want to keep fleshing it out a little bit because there's a lot going on. It's incredible how even just these little details, the violins over top of the strings coming in together, sort of accenting it. And again, it's all for the purpose of reinforcing the idea of this melancholy. And so even though it picks up later, and even though we have this feeling of intensity, we have that traditional Proof of a Hero feeling of like, yes, I am, a hunter, I am victorious, I can destroy monsters, so on and so forth, we actually get that quality of somberness, even with this little accents with the flutes and the clarinets over top. I mean, it's just interesting stuff. Horns now taking over. More counter melody there with bassoons, and then surprise. That's a huge orchestral swelling. Do you notice how crazy that is? It swells. So we start off with a pretty loud dynamic, but then this takes it to a whole nother level. We have literally the entire orchestra playing in unison at that point, moving in unison in different harmonies and what have you. And it's very emotionally eruptive. But what's different is that then we pull back right away. And that's shocking. Because pulling back, this is a common thing that we do in music sometimes, and I've done it as a singer as well. When we're singing really loudly, the audience may actually start to not pay attention. But the trick is to pull back. And then what does an audience do? What'd he say? Did you hear that? What'd he say? And you lean forward. And so the emotional impetus changes due to pulling back like that. It's so evocative. I mean, listen to the swell. Listen to the swell and then the pullback here. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous harmony here. Moving in unison, and then you get the piano, and then again it's a swell. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out about that little section that I think is just genius, we have this huge eruption, right? Full volume, and then there's space. You get a little Kezu theme in there, right? It's funny, just thinking about. I hope Kezu comes in. Anyway, not the point of this video. So we get this huge explosion of emotion, and then it's like, man, I wish things had gone differently. I'm still proud. I'm still the proud hunter, but I wish that I had done XYZ, or I wish that I had, there's a little bit of regret in that space, right? And then we pull back, and then it's just the piano, the strings, it's basically a piano, violin, viola, I think, mixed in with the cello. They move in unison. There's a little bit of instrumentation in there of some other instruments that I can't think of off the top of my head. And we're back to this intimate feeling of this small group of Alma, Gemma, us, the hunters. And, we kind of come to this place, that our unit comes to this place. It's not very many of us. It's a small group of people. Sure, we run into, a wider range of people that live in this land, but, we've kind of come individually, right? So it's almost like going all the way back to the beginning and sort of reflecting on the journey that we experience, right? And notice too that this actually ends downwardly. We don't ever go to the upper part of that. Ba 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 da. But do you notice how that would be heroic? Instead we go down. We do this instead. Ya da 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 ya. So it resolves down before we get that little bit of tension in that sound, right? It doesn't do the upper register. It's not triumphant in that sense, is it? It's not. It's actually saying hey, got a lot of thinking to do, right? We're reflecting on mystery, on confusion. There's so much thought in this piece. It's not just about victory. It's not just about triumph. It's actually about reflection and what it means to do the things that have to be done and be a part of this journey, right? And then you get some tension, which is really cool, and you get some interesting clusters of notes here. This is the danger. And you get a little bit of that synthetic thing. It almost sounds like it feels like a monster's kind of there. This game has really incredible sound design when it comes to monster sounds, especially if you think of a monster like Arkfeld or Ray Dow. My God, all of them, or even Lalabarina, there's all these monsters have such unique sounds to them. And in the background, you actually hear that kind of sound kind of poking its head through, don't you? But what's interesting here is you get this swirl. And that really signifies the mystery of what's going on here, because we end this thing with, a few questions, I'd say. And the story, regardless of whether or not you're a person who enjoyed it or not, the story did lay out a bunch of questions and a bunch of curiosities about what the hell is actually going on here. Kind of opens up, the lore crafter Monster Hunter community will have a good time with this because it's okay. you know? So you get a little bit of that synthetic sound, a little bit of something different, while you get this, and that's just building up the tension. It's building up the fear. It's building up the concern. It's building up the danger of this situation, right? Like, this doesn't feel great. And it's a very grounded thought process. It's not just heroics, you know? It's not like some other pieces, you know, where it's like celebration or something. No. It's really not a celebratory piece. It's very interesting. The snare is going on the percussion. You hear that spinning there? Huh. It's very kind of unnerving, isn't it? And then we reset again. A harp and an oboe? So we have the first moment, which is violins. We have a fake out. We go to this quiet moment with piano, violins, and violas, and cellos, and a little bit of a flute. Then we get this bombastic lower strings mixed in with some pretty intense brass and some snare percussion, really showcasing and identifying, now we're halfway through the piece, identifying the stress and the danger. And then now we pull all the way back again with a harp and an oboe, two very gentle sounding instruments. Why? Is that the the animals out in the field kind of living their lives? Is that the things that we've had to do in the story to accomplish, to be victorious? Was it just about hunting and killing? Or was it really about like being free and making your own ideas, and which is kind of a funny thing to think about if you know what's happening in the story. It's like life finds a way. There's a possibility in there of hope for the future, maybe even, you know what I mean? It's really interesting how we pull back like this. And why? Why in the year of our Lord, 2025, when every other iteration, and I've done a full video breaking down every single Monster Hunter theme, Proof of a Hero theme, I've literally ranked them from my favorite to least favorite. Why, after all of those versions of Proof of a Hero, are we choosing to go this route? It's very interesting. Even just to like pause it, like, what do you think? I don't know. You let me know in the comments. Why do you think that we're going in this direction with Proof of a Hero? I find it very interesting. I think this personally, just as a side note, probably my favorite version of Proof of a Hero. And I've heard every single one. This one and Monster Hunter Try, definitely my two versions that are my favorites. This one's better than Try in my opinion. This is a triple S, and it's not just recency bias either. There's just something about it that's just so. And really, the Wild soundtrack in general, and I'll have a separate video about this that you can check out. This whole soundtrack is very expansive, and yet we still get intimate moments like this one with the oboe and the flute. Really, some really smart, bold, and also just very expansive thought process went into creating this soundtrack. And I definitely think that Wilds has one of probably one of the best soundtracks that we'll probably get this year. Could arguably and possibly see it at the Game of the Year awards. Not that that matters, but it's definitely something I'm thinking about. It's a terrific soundtrack. Let's keep listening. Gorgeous descending there with that French horn. And this right here is so emotionally sensitive. I mean, oh my God, this is really about seeing the bright dye. Listen to this without me talking, just so that you hear it. Listen to how the French horn descends. We get this lush strings, basically like the dawning of a new day, the celebration of a new beginning, the joy of hunting, the joy of being a part of the landscape. Like, listen to this. You hear that? I'll stop. Then now we get the thrust, right? Now we're in it. Oh, goosebumps. Woo! Ta-da-da! Still slow. Listen to those horns. It's huge! Huge, huge, huge. Oh, my God. Goosebumps. Call and response. You have duality there. It's so triumphant here. Accent with the trumpet, repeating. More. Oh, ba ba ba. It doesn't hit you in the face. Listen. Crescendo, 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 crescendo. It doesn't crescendo. We have a twinkling of the... Sounds like a piccolo in the top upper register. What? It doesn't even ever climax. It climaxes in a way that isn't just bonking you over the head like a hammer main with no brain. No offense. Just kidding. I'm a Switch X main. Anyway, all that to say, let's rewind one more time. Let's listen to how beautiful this duality between the fight and the peace and the world. It's alive, but it's not just aggressive and dangerous. It's fully functional without your existence, right? Listen back to this. Listen how gorgeous these strings are. It goes up. That descending down like that. Yeah, so in my mind, it's a ya da da ya da da ya da da da. It's like, hello, yes, oh my god, a beautiful sunrise. And then it's like Arkfeld's coming back around the corner with those French horns saying, "What's up, motherfucker?" You know what I mean? Like it's really powerful. With big swell. Key change. Now we're in proof of a hero land, right? Super slow still. Ba 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 ba. Emphasis. And don't you love that? Don't you love that? It's so hard to stop there, but like, don't you love how you get this really, really like even moving tempo? Ba 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 ba. Ba-da-da-da-da. It's just so even keeled, right? That's not punching you in the face. That's not the gusto of the sharp rhythm. No. It's really about like embracing the identity of being a hunter, isn't it? I mean, like it's like looking at this vista and being like, look at this world, you know? Look at the possibility. You know what I mean? Look at the vastness of this space. Rather than being like, I'm going to beat the shit out of some monster, this is much more like, look at how this space just exists. Yes, I have a responsibility. Yes, I have to be a hunter. And yet, I respect this world. Even though, when 4 of us gang up in an Arkfeld, it's awful and we beat the crap out of it. And it's dead before we even know it, right? Yeah. But I just love the twinkling. There's almost like a twinkling quality in the violins. There's this beauty, this space of like, what a beautiful life it is to be in this new world, you know, to help these people, to face responsibility with a smile, you know, like it's warm. Listen again, and then we'll keep going, and then I'll stop. Love those lower strings like that. Nice. Awesome, glorious counter motivic movement in the lower brass. See if you can spot it. The upper trumpets. Oof. Then we pull back again. Crazy, all the pullbacks. Beautiful harmony, call and response. Trumpets, dun, 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 dun. Then the twinkling, and then nice full sound, but pulled back. Ya da da da, the motif in the background. It's glorious. What a glorious version of Proof of a Hero. It's not in your face. It's not really even like John Williams. It has its own identity. It really uses its theme really well. It references its own self. It references its own theme. You know, that Proof of a Hero. Ba, 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 ba. We hear it at the end. It comes up many times in the soundtrack. The motivic play in here is terrific, and it's dialed in such a way that it doesn't hit you over the head. But instead, there's almost a vulnerability about it. Isn't that interesting? It's tender. I love it. Definitely one of my favorite pieces of the Wild soundtrack, if not my favorite piece of the Wild soundtrack, truly. I have it in my camp. I've listened to it now for probably, 5 to 15 hours. I just love it. If you love Monster Hunter as much as I do, and you're enjoying Wilds and want to listen to some of the soundtrack and have it discussed, well, check out more of my videos. Definitely, there's a lot more Monster Hunter on the channel, and there will be a lot more to come, I'm sure. Thanks a ton, and as always, I'll see you later.